Welcome to the Benefits Executive Roundtable, hosted by Dorothy Koshu, President of Advanced Benefit Consulting. Dorothy is a nationally recognized benefits and compliance consultant and group health broker. Here, you will watch and listen to industry experts who will break down the latest trends in employee benefits, healthcare reform, state and federal legislative and regulatory activities, all designed to empower executive decisions. We are proud to bring to you all new for Season 6 video podcasts. We hope that you enjoy your new video podcast format, and please forgive any audio or video imperfections. Thank you for viewing and listening.
Welcome to the Benefits Executive Roundtable. I'm your host, Dorothy Koshu, President of Advanced Benefit Consulting, and I'm really happy to have my guest today, Phil Calhoun, who is the owner and publisher of California Broker Magazine, as well as the President and CEO of Integrity Advisors here in Orange County, California. Phil, thanks again for joining me today. I really appreciate you being here.
Great. Thanks for the opportunity, Dorothy. Looking forward to it.
Good, me too. So there's always a lot going on in the health insurance industry, of course. And because you are now, and we'll talk about that more in a moment, because you're now the owner and publisher of a magazine, it's great to have somebody on the podcast with that kind of media experience and publishing experience. And that definitely, I'm assuming that will definitely keep you informed what's going on everywhere in the marketplace. And you know, it's really nice to have that finger right directly on the pulse of the industry. What do you think about that? How's it been so far?
Well, it's been about 3 years of learning as I go. I've had an agency for 30-something years and had written some articles for the magazine before I took over, but writing an article here and there is a little different. So we had a lot of bumps and little divots and things like that we had to kind of work around and through. In acquiring another business, there's always some of that type of activity. Acquiring a media company that was mostly a print magazine, it was a surprise that the costs of printing and postage went up so quickly. And in the first year, it was like 3 times the printing and the postage costs went up and up and up.
Yeah.
And when we were printing 25,000 magazines and mailing them out, that's a lot of postage, a lot of printing costs. So we tried different things, but basically ended up about a year ago going 100% digital, and that's been really great.
Yeah, and that's a big change for everyone. But the unfortunate part for you is that you bought the magazine very shortly after COVID, right? And the prices of everything went up. No one could have anticipated that. And so it was right after kind of the closing part of COVID. That's when prices just start going up and up. So I guess it was just bad timing as far as that's concerned, but no one would have anticipated the kind of expenses that we see it in our own offices. I own a health insurance agency and, benefit compliance and consulting firm. And, we're a small shop, but the bottom line is even our costs went up, 40, 50%. And it was ridiculous. It was no one could have anticipated that. Revenues go down at that time, expenses go way up, and here you are just purchasing this new business. And I can just imagine how that was. And I have some experience with Cal Broker from, again, the writer side, just like you. And I've written some articles and had some articles published in Cal Broker over the years. And that's just completely, as you said, a different experience than owning a media company and owning a magazine. So I just wanted to get your kind of take on that and kind of move into some, industry trends and so forth. But I just wanted everybody to know that I do have personal experience with Cal Broker because I've had several articles. Thank you for that. Some before your time and some after you took over. And I always enjoyed having things published there. It was always very nice. And, I've published in some other magazines as well. But it's nice for the brokers and the agents in the area to know that they can, in the state of California, have a place where they can go, check out things, what's going on, see what's hot, what's not, right? And see what your competitor's doing a little bit. And it's a great magazine for that, for the industry to kind of come together. And one of the things I wanted to ask you is, obviously, it's grown a lot since you went from paper to digital. Tell us about how the circulation has increased.
Well, that's a great question, and do appreciate your contributions and look for some more in the future. We decided when we started to get the, work through the shock factor, the price increases, and for printing and postage, that, we needed to do an offset if we were going to go digital. And so we decided we work with the Department of Insurance here in California. So that happened about 2.5 years ago. We acquired the list from the Department of Insurance. Great list. Was about 130,000. So we figured with our advertisers looking to reach as many subscribers or readers as possible, that would work. That would work really well to kind of counterbalance not having a print magazine. And so it did. It worked really well. And then about, 4 months ago, 5 months ago, we thought it was time to re-up on that. And so we checked in with the Department of Insurance, got some new numbers. And because of a number of brokers that are non-resident but licensed in the state of California, we thought, hey, our advertisers would likely be interested in reaching those individuals because they're doing business in California, right? They're actually they have clients here in California. So whatever happens in California, which is the news content and the article content that we try to stay with, that would be helpful for them to learn as well. So the new list count was like 270,000. And we know that with a deliverable rate, which is consistently about 98.5%, even with a 1.5% non-deliverable, that over time starts to dribble down that total number. So we're basically saying, and we think we'll be safe for the next year, that our subscriber base is 255,000. And so that's every email we send out reaches 98.5% of that population. And open rates are great. They're from 20 to 40%. That's well above the industry average.
That's really, really good. Yeah.
Yeah. And the magazine has been around since 1981, and it's kind of perceived by many of us veterans of the business as an industry journal for California.
Right.
And then the new people that are getting licensed, it's a huge number every 2 years that we've
kind of surprising, actually. I think that's surprising.
Yeah, it's like, I think it was 60,000 since we first bought the list to the second time. And the rest of the list is non-resident. So we have, 80 or so thousand non-resident and then a bunch of newly licensed. So there's a lot of people getting licensed in the business for life and health insurance. And so that's our market, our subscriber target.
Right. I'm going to ask you a question, and it's sort of a selfish question, I think, to a certain extent. There were times in the past I submitted a lot of articles. So I'm speaking for me and for other people like me. As you know, I love to write. I've been writing for years and years and years. And I like to write the big, meaty, juicy compliance type articles and so forth, ones that no one else wants to touch because they don't want to get into the details. But I do. In the past, I had always written a lot of articles and they were published there. And then they got to be expensive. And they said, we have to start, because the costs were going up, and this was before you were there, they said, well, we'll have to shorten it down to X number of words or pages or whatever. And so I would do that. But sometimes it just won't work, and it won't, because, if you're writing something on a new law or something like that, you can't always cut it down. So then there was a definite, distinct number of word count that was the maximum. And of course, my articles would no longer qualify for that because I can't write a 2-page article. I just can't. You've seen me in the industry for years. I can't do that. I don't do that. I don't do the short stuff. I do the big, meaty, juicy stuff. So my question to you, from a selfish perspective, from people like myself that do write those lengthy articles, now that you're digital, can you accommodate the from time to time the more in-depth articles?
Yes, the beauty of digital media is that we can put links in all of the content. So from an author contributing an article, whether it's 1,000 words, which is 2 pages, or longer than that, which is what you're talking about, several pages, we can put in the title, we can put in a paragraph or two, and then read more, kind of click here, read more, right? So the length of the article is not an issue. We occasionally get news items that are from various sources out there, and that's in the news part of the monthly magazine. And those are quite frequently long, and so we'll have the read more option. So send us your articles, please. We will definitely put them in and have a read more option. Interestingly enough, we are able to transcribe now, or we're able to turn the articles into an audio file. So the audio files are great for people who might be on the go, in the car, walking, whatever, and they're on their cell and they want to listen to the content. They may not have time to read. The big sort of concern is that a lot of people don't read that much anymore.
I know.
And so being able to listen would be a viable option for a lot of people. And that helps our advertisers, that helps who contribute articles, but it also helps our authors as well. So we're able to go that route with read or listen.
Okay,
option.
so again, just for my information and for others like me, how does that work? They just give you the article, and then is it computer generated voice? How does that work?
Yeah, we use essentially AI, and we get to pick the male or female. We get to pick the cadence, the speed that they speak. We get to pick different styles of voice.
How fun.
So for you, Dorothy, we probably would pick a female, right? So
Probably.
that's how
Hopefully
we would
they
do
speak
that.
a little slower than I do, because as you know, I loved when I start talking on a subject, I just go faster and faster. The more excited I get about it, the faster I speak. So I would definitely, somebody like me would not be good at doing audio recordings. People have asked me that. Hey, can you audio record this? I know.
Yeah.
Go ahead, use your AI tools, whatever. But no, I'm not going to. That's not my forte. Sorry, I talk way too fast.
I think in a regular conversation, the rapid voice or whatever, the fast talking, that's fine. I think when you're explaining details, that's where we need to kind of slow it down. So I've done some too of my articles. It's kind of a test, and we've converted to audio. And I like the person's voice better than mine, number one. But number two,
I would too. I don't like my voice.
I had to slow it down, so as we were talking about commission planning and certain topics like that, it's like, okay, I want to make sure that we slow it down.
Yeah.
And of course, the other thing is when you write an article, a lot of times when it's voiced, it just sounds a little too regimented. And so you have to kind of factor that in a little bit sometimes with what you're writing.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for that. That's great information. Like I said, I wasn't quite familiar with how that worked. So I'm glad to hear that. Well, let's turn a little bit to industry trends now, because that's why I wanted to have you with us today. Let's start with some basics. Can you tell us in general how the aging population affects overall healthcare?
Yeah. So the baby boomers, right? The aging population.
Yeah, I'll get into that too. Yeah.
Even the folks a little older than the baby boomers, but yeah, there's a lot of impact at a lot of levels. So we all know from the sort of the Medicare marketing, it talks about 11,000 or 10,000 people turning 65 every day. So that's the baby boomer group, and they'll continue until that age group is past that 65 point. There's no drop off in the numbers of people who are turning 65 for a few more years, and then it does start to tail downward. But what that means is that there's more and more people in the system using healthcare, needing health insurance to access healthcare, needing other kinds of insurance like long-term care and things like that they will need. And so as our subscribers are in the life and health business, we want to make sure that they're following that trend, that they're bringing up certain topics, and in some cases, if they need a subject matter expert to work with, because maybe long-term care, for example, might be out of their health insurance lane, then let's try to collaborate as professionals. We want to find other professionals that are subject matter experts that can provide solutions to our clients' challenges. We shine the light on them when we're in that process, but when we do bring them in and they solve a client's problem, it really elevates you as the broker, as the trusted advisor, because you've brought in a solution with the subject matter expert.
Right.
So when it comes to long-term care, you can become that subject matter expert, or you can collaborate and find an individual or a business that can fill that role for you. There's several members of our professional association and several of our subscribers that offer all different types of insurances that can be considered a potential collaborative partner.
Right, right. Well, for those that are younger, that are watching or listening to this today, let's talk again. You mentioned the baby boomers, obviously. Just for those of you that aren't familiar with who baby boomers are, they're generally born between 1946 and 1964. So that will help you to figure out what we're talking about here. What impact does that group have when they own a small business? I mean, what kind of impact do they have on the overall economy?
Yeah, so statistics show that all of the medium and small size businesses, 51% are owned by baby boomers. Mm-hmm. So when you think about pushing that out in another 12 years, there's a lot of small businesses that will change hands, right? They'll be sold to a family member or sold internally to an employee, or they'll find an outside buyer or an investment group that wants to take on that type of business. So that goes from retail to manufacturing, all these different types of and industries of businesses. I've been on the board of directors for the Exit Planning Institute for several years. I'm in the chapter that's based here in Orange County. So I encourage you as a subscriber to take a look at those meetings. They're in our calendar, and they're up and down the state. So the Exit Planning Institute is one of the top organizations that deals with this issue, helping business owners do their planning for their exit. So it's a very complex process. It involves a lot of the trusted advisors of a business owner. And when you think about the health insurance benefits professional is working with their client, who essentially is the business owners, we oftentimes get into very personal issues for those business owners, much more personal, certainly medical issues and that type of thing for the owner, their loved ones, that a lot of other like financial planners and some others may not get into. Accountants, lawyers, they may have some knowledge about that issue that the business owner might express, but we're out there trying to find access to the specialists that they need, the tests and treatments that they need, and how their benefits will cover some of those services. So that's where our trusted advisor role for our clients can really be helpful to the business owner. So it's a natural step to then eventually open the conversation to, especially if they're a baby boomer, to their exit plan and how you might be able to help. So if you've got some resources, some subject matter experts in that arena, then now you can be, able to bring some solutions or team members that join you to help walk the business owner through some of these planning issues. And sometimes it takes 3 to 5 years and to develop.
It can't happen overnight. Yeah.
Yeah. You don't want to have a situation where it's an urgent fire drill kind of thing where business owners ill and they are failing in their health and something has to happen in 3 months or something like that. So
right. And what are their major priorities at that time?
Well, for the business owner, that when they have time to plan, then planning's their friend. It's their enemy when they don't. So the best thing to do is to get a team of professionals that you can trust if you're a business owner and get that process started. So with a lot of companies, there's law firms that specialize in this area. We feature content from Strazzeri Mancini. They're based out of San Diego, but like Joe Strazzeri he's been a speaker on this topic for over 25, 30 years. His approach is to first deal with the readiness to sell. Now, if there's time and time's your friend, then there's a little more time one can spend on looking at whether the business and the business owner are ready to sell. Mm-hmm. And sometimes there's a lot of financial shoring up that needs to happen. A little different for a health insurance professional than a business that's in manufacturing that has 100 employees and 50 million of revenue, something like that.
Right.
But there's some commonality there, and it's really shore up your revenues be ready to, if you have time, enhance those revenues and also the expenses. So you look at the financials of the company, and then you start looking at key employees and what can be done. There's a lot of insurance tools out there that can be addressed or used to address the key employees, kind of like golden handcuff ideas. Mm-hmm. There's just a number of different strategies there that usually a financial planner would be able to bring to the table. As part of the team, many times the trusted advisors, including the health insurance professionals, can take a more active role and be a part of that team.
And how do the priorities of the millennials, the Gen X, the Gen Z, how do they compare to the baby boomers?
Well, their roles, it'd be kind of nice if I was about 30 years younger. But I think that age group, 30, 40-year-olds is kind of what you're talking about, maybe some younger. There's going to be so many opportunities for those who are entrepreneurial. Mm-hmm. Then they want to step in and start their own business. So instead of starting from scratch, there's going to be some of these businesses that are smaller that'll be up for sale. And so when it comes to health insurance, our own, backyard, there's the same dynamic. There's probably over 50% of agencies in health insurance or individual brokers in health insurance are baby boomers. Some are north of that age. Some are a little bit south of that. But so if you're a younger broker and you want to, learn a little bit about how do you acquire a book of business in health insurance and how you take that opportunity and be a viable buyer for a broker or their successor, because we do some of that work too. And we can talk about what that means. But basically, we're offering some of that education in the next couple of months for brokers who are interested in that, so we can teach them. I think it's important for both the older and the younger brokers to figure out how to work together.
Right, for sure. Yeah. Well, you certainly don't want to sell your business to somebody who's the same age as you, because they're going to be in the same situation that you are. If you are a baby boomer, you're going to want to find somebody who's a little bit younger to take that over if you don't have your own kids in the business or, relatives or friends that you've been planning for all along and been training all along. There are decisions that need to be made. Well, let's talk a little bit about, since we're talking about age, how do you think age relates to personal decisions and personal accountability related to, things like healthy living and healthcare in general?
Yeah. Well, last week we had a conference, right? And we had a couple of MDs talking about that topic. So they're much better equipped to answer those questions. But when you think about it, people are living longer in general. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of technology that will be even enhanced in the near future and certainly a few years out that's going to help with that early diagnosis, with the treatment protocols that seem to be working, and there'll be more knowledge about those protocols. But at the same time, to avoid health issues, some of it can't be if it's a hereditary situation, but overall we can manage by what we eat, what we put in our mouth, and then what we do with our bodies in terms of exercise and staying active. So if you think about what your mother used to tell you, or whatever, some wise person in your life, eat all the peas on your plate and go out and exercise. You want to eat a balanced diet. You want to also help your clients do the same thing, right? You want to educate your clients. So we have a regular contributor. She's a wonderful dietitian, nutritionist, Megan Rowe. She works for Providence, and she writes articles on that topic, on typically themes like I think February is heart health, and there'll be articles on how to get through other diagnoses and other issues. From March, she's going to be writing on losing weight, and this whole trend with all these different medications that one can take to try to lose weight.
Yeah.
But losing weight is fine. Keeping it off is better. But it really comes down to habits. We all know this, right? You got to develop healthy habits.
Yeah.
So the other factor, frankly, with this whole aging issue and this particular topic is work with your primary care doctors and find one, like you just said, in a business, a buyer and a seller, not maybe shouldn't be the same age. maybe we need to think about that with our selection of our doctor, our primary care doctor, because maybe your doctor's your age or older and you're, 60, 70 years old. That doctor won't be around when probably you really need some extra help. So,
yeah. And also the younger doctors, they have more experience with all the newer things that hit the market that the older doctors, sometimes they don't really want to let go of the past. They want to keep doing things the same way. And there are all these new medical advances and so forth. So sometimes I had to do that. My doctor recently, my primary care doctor had retired and I had to find a new doctor. And my new doctor is, I'd say in her late 20s, early 30s, but she might be older than that, but I don't think so. But she just looks so young. I mean, like she could be my child. It's kind of sad, but for me, but all new ideas and all, it's kind of interesting to listen to her. I'm a very healthy person. I'm very lucky and very fortunate, but it's really interesting to hear what she has to say versus what my prior doctor had to say, because my prior doctor and I, we were about the same age and so forth, right? So it's interesting. It's interesting. Well, let's move on to another topic here. Let's talk a little bit about supply and demand and how that can impact the health insurance industry.
Yep. Well, just like all the other baby boomers, the nurses, the doctors, especially, a lot of nurses are and doctors and other key healthcare providers are going to retire. And so we need to have replacement, and we need to have people stepping in and into those professions, into those jobs. I think with the AI and technology and telemedicine and some other things like that, I think that will help offset the retirees as they leave the industry. I mean, we probably both know nurses and doctors who retired over the last few years. Mm-hmm. And, you wonder, okay, they have a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, and how does that get handed down to the replacement level, right? How do they get through that? So, there's a lot of treatment protocols that the insurance carriers and the healthcare providers, the large medical groups and so on, they have these treatment protocols. And we all hope that those treatment protocols aren't so generic that they can be as specific as possible, because you can do genetic testing and you can look at data for certain diagnoses and what's worked for people with similar genetics. So as that whole area gets more and more advanced and AI comes in, I'm hoping that, that they'll have faster solutions, more impactful treatments, and better results than what we're seeing today.
Yeah, and you mentioned a few times things like retirement and so forth. And, we've been hearing for decades that Social Security funds are drying up. And, where's the money going to come from for all these baby boomers that all hit retirement age around the same time? What do you think about that? I mean, there are a lot of people that are, as you said, there's a great number of people retiring every year, right around now. And it's like, what happens when the money dries up in Social Security? What are they planning for this in advance? Is there something that's being done, in general for the baby boomer market if we all hit and we're all to retire at the same time?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I have all the answers, but keep saving up your money, Dorothy. I don't think, when you have the means, you're not going to depend necessarily on Social Security to, make the major difference. But it certainly is something we've invested in over years. It's something that, the younger employees that are working and paying into Social Security, a little bit of that, I guess, comes our way. So you want your younger children, their friends to get a good job, so they're getting on payroll and they're contributing to our Social Security. But yeah, that's a bit of a concern, because a lot of apparently more and more younger individuals are not entering the workforce full time compared to maybe in the past, and so that is something that I think a lot of people in the baby boomer range are a little bit concerned about, or should be. But yeah, I think the good thing is, frankly, if you own a home, and especially in California, and that value of your home has just exploded, then there's a little bit of a part of your nest egg for retirement. But There's a lot more probably there than for some people that are fortunate that way than maybe what they could get out of Social Security.
Yeah, exactly. Well, hopefully they started planning for this long ago. And everybody has their own retirement plans and they're not just relying on Social Security. I'm certainly not. I assume that it's probably not going to be there. I guess I have negative thoughts on that, thinking they're going to dry up eventually. But let's talk a little bit about, again, continuing this discussion about baby boomers. What's the impact on their medical plans? And also, what are their trends regarding access and delivery of healthcare?
Yeah, so we hope that there'll still be enough healthcare providers to operate all the diagnostic equipment that's out there. There'll be all those resources that we know about today will still be available in the future and be operated by just younger people. Mm-hmm. But again, that's a little bit of a concern as you see so many baby boomers in the medical field that eventually will retire. I've had clients tell us stories, right? Stories are kind of interesting, but somebody needed some surgery, and it was a bit of a complex surgery. So they were in the doctor's office. The doctor's like north of 75, and this particular doctor was a surgeon, and they hadn't had a lot of experience with this complicated surgery, and they were a local doctor. They also seemed to have, as they were sort of designing what part of the body was going to get worked on, their hand had a little shake to it, and so that doctor might have done a great job during that surgery, but that individual decided to get a second opinion, and they ended up at a major institution in Southern California, which they had a successful surgery. So, when you see that sort of happening, there's so much knowledge in that, in all the doctors that are older. They may just have started to slowly lose their abilities to do surgery. So when you really need those specialists, the super specialists out there, whether it's for advanced diagnostic work is one thing, actually cutting is a whole nother. Exactly. So I think with some of the technology, there's more and more technology where the doctor's not actually doing the cutting. They have a lot of assistance with that through technology. So we'll see how that progresses. But that's just one story. There's probably some stories that our listeners and our professional colleagues have as well that their clients and their insurance clients have told them about.
Right. Well, I know from my own personal experience that if I were to ever have any surgery, I would rather have a young surgeon than an older surgeon. And that's just because of the technology and because of the newer ideas, the new treatments and so forth, that some of the older doctors and surgeons may not have that. They have the years and years and years of experience and they're great, but sometimes you want to know what's the latest and greatest, and we've come a long way in the last 15 or 20 years. So sometimes I want to take advantage of that. So I've always I'm very fortunate. Like I said, I've been very healthy my entire life, but that's something that's always been important to me. Well, let's talk about, again, people retiring and things like that. Are most people planning for retirement, and do they look at retirement plans early, particularly these younger groups of people? Are they looking at retirement plans and income replacement, or are they waiting until they're in their 50s and 60s and saying, oh my gosh, now I have to do something about this? What do you see happening there?
Yeah, I think the 20, 30-year-olds have learned from their parents that maybe they would have been better off saving sooner. Mm-hmm. That's like LIMRA and some other organizations, that's their business. They do research on these types of topics. And so, when it comes to other media sources that I look at on a regular basis to try to filter what's going to fit into the magazine and fit with our subscribers' interests, a lot of it says that most people haven't properly planned for retirement. Mm-hmm. And they are the ones that typically are very close to retirement. And then you've got, and a lot, I mean like half. And then you've got a number of people that are younger that are, already thinking and starting to save for their future. So if you're a financial planner as well as a life and health insurance professional, I think you would have an unending market there to help those individuals plan and save for the future, and maybe avoid some of the way too risky options. But at the same time, somebody who's got many years, they may not want to think about putting all their money in a CD or something like that. So, balance your portfolio is the theme.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
I have 3 kids. One of them doesn't save, then one of them's doing a great job saving, probably more than necessary, and the other one's kind of in between. So I don't know if that's a good sample size or not, but it's expensive, like you were saying. Everything's expensive, and some of the younger folks, they like to go out and they like to, go to concerts. And how much did a concert cost 40 years ago versus today?
It's insane how expensive it is. I'm a concert goer myself. Even at my age, I still go to concerts all the time. But it's amazing how much everything costs now. It's just insane. The economy is just, well, we won't go there because that could be a whole nother topic that I don't really want to get into today. But let's talk a little bit about, again, planning for the future and so forth. Long-term care. Sometimes people don't think about that until they need it. So what's the best time? What's the best age to start thinking about, I should look into long-term care?
Well, while you're healthy. So, Dorothy, while you're healthy, because you get a little bit older, there's medical issues that pop up, and some, underwriting's not your friend sometimes, right? So, getting a guaranteed issue long-term care insurance product is almost impossible. However, we're going to be having more content in the magazine about one particular carrier that's come into the market. Will go down to 5 employees. It's a group long-term care product. So if most of us have looked at that 15, 20 years ago and thrown our hands up in the air and said, nah, this is not going to be a fit for my client, this is time to take another look. So we'll have a lot of content on that. I know many small businesses that are adding this coverage. That the actual coverage for this policy is you can't beat it in the marketplace for California. And California has always been tough for long-term care, right? The DOI or whatever, their requirements are pretty tough. And, if we look back just 5 years, we've had a lot of clients that have had negative experiences with the carrier that they've been paying premiums to for a long time. But again, now they have these linked products where there's life insurance benefits. So, if you pay premiums over a period of time and you fall asleep and don't wake up, your loved ones get a death benefit that's almost equal to the premiums you've paid. So it's a smart leverage play. And then the coverage itself, it covers inflation riders, covers a certain benefit you can use for in-home care or in-facility care. There's just a lot of value-added benefits that are included in this product. So I'd say take a look, study it, learn it, and you can either bring it to your clients or you can partner with a subject matter expert that can help you bring it to your clients, and they split the commissions with you.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. Well, I want to hear your thoughts on what's happening in the world of healthcare today. The big companies like the Walmarts, the Amazons, getting into things like prescription drugs and healthcare services and so forth. And also celebrities like Mark Cuban, who recently started a drug company. What do you think about that? And what kind of impact do you think that's going to have on our health insurance industry, if any?
Well, I think there's some goodness out of it. There's also some, they have a lot of money, so if they don't succeed and they've lost some money, it's like probably not as much of an impact for many other people because they have a lot of money.
Yeah.
But yeah, when these folks come in and they want to disrupt an industry, okay, because they've tried to disrupt employee benefits before, right, with different solutions, and it always comes down to it's really hard to disrupt that industry that we're in with providing employee benefits and health insurance to individuals. So Mark Cuban has had some success, and we'll see how much further success he's going to have. But he's trying to do cost plus pricing on certain medications, and a lot of it's the generics. but he's also trying to figure out injectables and other high-end types of medications. And so cost plus 15%, that might work really well in some cases. I think with prescription drugs, it's our job to try to find the fit for our clients. And so there's so many options out there now, to do a proper job, especially when you get a client that has some exotic brand name or some multiple brand generic drugs, and you want to really shop around and see if their coverage is reasonable that they have within their medical plan, or if they should just go to one of these discount programs. Sometimes you have to have the ability to shop around for your clients in that arena, along with other things that you're doing for your clients. So you got to have the resources. We need to be resource providers and look for options.
Yeah. I agree there. You always have to look for options. Well, I want to come back to something that you mentioned briefly earlier, because I think it's really important. It's obviously what's happening right now in our industry. What are your thoughts on artificial intelligence in the health insurance industry in general? I know that's a loaded question because obviously it's there's a lot going on there. But what do you see as far as how it can help or hurt the healthcare industry? Tell us your thoughts on that.
I think there's enough of inclusion of experts and people actually doing the work that will help to round out some of the little bit of out of the box thinking that sometimes pops up with artificial intelligence. In a way, it's up to us as professionals to feed those systems, those AI systems, with what are the best practices, what works, so that information is shared. Not having that input or not having that content get into the system, then the system's going to go to a place where maybe there's science or there's some other more not subject matter expert content getting in. So I think it's got to be a blend. I think with our active involvement, we need to feed that system. And I know organizations that are in our industry that do feed AI systems, and they use it to develop training programs for certain insurance products. So they're kind of outsmarting in a way, or they're smart enough to use the AI process and system in such a way that they can now go to the AI, get a response from AI that includes what they fed in, plus other organizations have fed in, and they come up with a more comprehensive training program, for one example, when it comes to the doing insurance.
Right. Well, what I've noticed is that a lot of the younger agents and so forth are really embracing this because it can help, their workload. They can have AI do so many different things, and people are using it for everything these days. As long as my thoughts on it personally. Well, then again, I have a privacy and security background too on this, so I always look at it from a security perspective. I've actually had a few podcasts on that recently. So I'm always concerned on the security side of it. But if you use it properly, again, you know that you should be checking the end result and not just assuming that AI has all the answers, because a lot of times it's wrong, right? So you're right. There has to be a combination. If you're going to use AI, you have to use it, in my opinion, you have to use it smartly and efficiently, but you also have to check the end result and make sure that, this is really actually the right answers that are being spit out by AI, because sometimes they're not. So you have to really be careful of that. And also watch and see make sure you're not getting your AI from Chinese companies and things like that, because there's a lot more security concerns there, of course, than there are in American companies. So I always caution people about that as well. But my next question related to this is again about AI, but carriers and administrators, they have really started using AI for claims functions, for chatbots, for online chatbots and things like that, and doing all kinds of things internally. And some of them have had really great experiences with it, and frankly, some of them have not. Do you see this as something that's going to continue, and where do you see AI in the future for our industry?
Well, I think maybe it'll be driven by the younger brokers in the industry, but we have to go back to our role as an advocate. We're an advocate for our clients. And so without our role being filled properly, then the healthcare system, the insurance carriers, with those AI answers to various questions, when it comes to tests and treatments and protocols and all that, that's all fine. But we want to make sure as an advocate that we're understanding that that type of information is out there. But we also want to make sure that our clients can hear from humans, like their super specialist doctor, right?
Yeah.
Or some other resource that they can get that information from. There's a lot of databases that you can pay to access that are healthcare driven. And I imagine that those going forward, those databases will be loaded with more content, more AI related content. But, really, there's that human touch, right? That really, really matters. And that's what we offer as an advocate.
Especially in our industry. Yes. If you're providing that service to your clients, they expect it to come from you. They expect you to be involved as a person and not everything being fed to them from an AI robot or something like that, or this impersonal, correspondence and so forth. So I think it's important, as you said, I think it's really important that there's always a human at the end of that before it goes out to whoever it's being sent to, because that's important. If you are going to be using AI, I think that's the best way to use it. I'm not saying it's bad. I think it's great. It's going to help a lot of people save a lot of money in their practices and so forth. If done well, it can be very, very efficiently, but somebody's got to continuously monitor that and make sure that they've got all the security protocols in place and that they're doing all the fact checking. Let it help you, but don't let AI control the product that you're sending out to your clients, because it may not be accurate. It may not be how you would have presented the situation, whatever. And, I could see this really hurting some agencies and some insurance industry organizations because they didn't put enough thought into using AI. That's my personal opinion. But anyway, so my personal opinion. So let me ask you one last question. You've talked a lot about products and so forth. You've talked a lot about California Broker. Tell us briefly, what does Integrity Advisors do?
So we've done health insurance for the long time now, and so we have Medicare clients. We recently partnered with someone outside, a collaborative partner, to do individual insurance, and then we do Medicare. So
okay,
our growth for our agency has been a little bit different. So over the last 12 years, we've worked with brokers that were solo brokers. They built up a nice book of business. We started to see with them that some of the insurance carriers just don't really protect commissions in the event of a life-changing situation. So we've seen brokers who passed away and then they just lose all their commissions. So we tried to figure out a solution for that 12 years ago. So we came up several years ago with a commission protection plan for active brokers. So that's been very successful. So we just try to educate now, and we kind of do it under the umbrella of a company called Commission Solutions, ironically. And it's really a program so far. We're going to build it into a company, but we've worked with lots of brokers, either through the book that I wrote, was published in 2021, about, it was for health insurance professionals to protect, grow, and sell their commissions. And so that's an educational process. We are regularly checking in with the carriers to see if they've changed any of their processes for succession planning for commissions or the transfer of the commissions to another person. So that's a busy effort to try to keep track of all that. And so we've got the resources to do that. We've made it our focus, so we're subject matter experts in that topic. So we're not saying that you're not going to have some success if you have no plan to protect your commissions. But I can tell you, we've had brokers that have been referred to us. They passed away 3 months prior, and their spouse is hoping, praying that they get something out of that book of business. And sadly, there's not a lot, but there are some carriers that will work with us. But then we've had a lot of situations where we've had active brokers that were just protecting their commissions, which means we don't do anything unless that broker passes away or they retire. So that active broker keeps their book. They keep doing what they're doing. And we're just sort of standing on the sideline if something happens and they need us. But sometimes they need us. And so we were able, with a plan in place, to to come in and save those commissions and pay their beneficiary.
Okay.
It could be a trust, or it could be their spouse,
Right.
or loved ones.
Okay.
So that kind of planning helps to address some of those issues, those life events that are a reality. If a broker just wants to retire, then, we find them a buyer, or if we're not the buyer. And so now we're doing consulting work. So we're working with a process that we've established that we know works to transition a book of business. The process is available to brokers who go through a training that we are offering soon, and using our best practices. And then we kind of treat those buyers as well as those successors, the younger brokers that want to work with an older broker who's planning to stay active for 3 or 5 more years. But they really need a protection plan, and they need a successor to execute that plan. So we're working to educate and bring those brokers up to the point where they can be a preferred successor or a preferred buyer, or both, for brokers. Because remember those numbers, the baby boomers, 50% of the insurance agents out there and brokers are a baby boomer. And so the next 10 to 12 years, going to be a great opportunity for those 30, 40-year-old or younger brokers to get in that market and grow their book of business by acquiring retiring brokers book.
Right, exactly. Well, I want to thank you so much for all this wonderful and valuable information today. I really appreciate your time. If someone would want to reach out to you, either at Cal Broker or at Integrity Advisors, how would they do that?
Yeah, so the best way to reach me, Dorothy, is to send me an email, phil@integrity-advisors.com. And if you want to go into the magazine track, it's publisher@calbrokermag.com. So yes, looking for fresh ideas and information from subject matter experts for the magazine. So please do reach out that way. And if you want to learn more about our commission planning work, then you can certainly keep an eye on the magazine as well, because we do advertise, and we're in the calendar there for our webinars that we're doing. So you can take a look there. You can also go to our website, commission.solutions. There's no .com or net or anything. Commission, singular, .solutions.
Okay.
And we have a lot of our content on the website as well.
Okay. Thank you very, very much. Again, thanks for everything today. I really, really appreciate it. And everybody out there, please stay safe, stay healthy, and stay tuned for the next episode of the Benefits Executive Roundtable. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for compliance tips, cost containment ideas, new trends, and decision-making tools. This podcast is produced by Advanced Benefit Consulting, Anaheim, California. All views expressed are those of the host or interviewees and not necessarily the views of Advanced Benefit Consulting. Information contained herein should not be construed as legal advice. We always recommend that you consult with your legal counsel as situations do vary. Ms. Koshu can be reached at 714-693-9754 extension 3 or toll free at 866-658-3835. By email at dmkoshu@advancedbenefitconsulting.com or visit our website at advancedbenefitconsulting.com.